If you would please welcome Piram Prakasam.
Good morning. Last Friday, I met Fran Rosen and in a meeting in Rankin, and she said, "Don't pontificate." So I took that advice really well, and I've been reflecting on my talk for the last 2 days, thinking about what am I going to talk about. And finally, prepared it at 10 o'clock yesterday night, showed it to my wife. She said, "I don't like it." So 10:30, I went back to her and said, "What about this?" And she said, "I don't like it." We went back and forth till 3 in the morning, and she went to bed. So here I am, talking about making connections. There are 3 things that I thought in the context of what I want to talk about. I realized that we're missing connections. We need to be making connections, and we need to go beyond making connections. So that's going to be my talk. And the context is the discussion we have here for the last 3 years on general education. We've been having a lot of discussions on gen ed. As a faculty teaching chemistry, the picture is beautiful because it's not showing chemistry, but shows chemistry really well. And this is how I see what I do as a chemist. And in teaching chemistry, I do 3 things. I ask them to look at the 3 questions that I always want them to ask: what, why, and how. I ask them, what is this, why is this, and how is this? So you can see slowly that I have a fetish for number 3. Everything I talk is all about number 3. But going back here, so first thing I do is I ask them to think about chemistry. The second thing is I ask them to make the connection of what they know already in their past experiences and try to ask them to make the connection to what I'm teaching them. And so I'm asking them to make the connections that they have in their brain in terms of what they're learning as new experiences. And the third thing I ask them to do is to have a global perspective. Ask them to see not only what you're learning, what you're going to do with this, and how does that benefit the larger society. So those are the 3 things I always ask them to do, and I think I'm doing a very good job in my mind in trying to make the connection, but it never translates. It never translates because the students don't see the connection. Because they still see the missing connection, they don't see the connection, they're missing the connection. And that's where our curricular process would need to come, where we can make the connection, but not only make the connection, but we have to go beyond making the connection. So my talk here is going to be about how do you go beyond and making those connections. So this comes back to me when I started thinking about this presentation, when Naomi Tutu came 2 years back, and I was sitting right here, and she was standing here, and talking about apartheid and what happened in South Africa, and how they reconciled. And she used the word Ubuntu, and I was really, really amazed at the word Ubuntu because it resonated a lot with me, because what I understand as Ubuntu reflects on what I see as many things. In that context, she said, what is Ubuntu? I am what I am because of who we all are. So if you take that context and reflect on your own, you would see, and you also would see the same thing with your students, that I am what I am because of who we all are. In that context, I see this picture as a very true reflection of it. My standing here and talking to you is based on all the experiences my ancestors had, all the knowledge I gained from each one of you having interactions with you. So what I do, it affects the whole because I'm connected to every individual here, everybody here. In that context, if I do something that improves myself, it's going to improve everybody as I'm connected to them. If I do something really well, it's going to benefit the larger society. That is the context of Ubuntu. And if there is a way to students saying the purpose of general education is for you to understand the deeper meaning of Ubuntu, and in that context reflect on why and how you do what you do on a day-to-day basis, and as you progress in a professional field. So it resonated a lot with me. And so I was thinking about how do I make this connection? So I go back to what I know, chemistry, and something that I've done for 5 years doing research on soaps. And my friends make fun of me because you never grew because you're still playing with soap when I was in grad school. And so if you look at this molecule here, I'm calling it a molecule to make it easy, you're seeing 2 parts to it, a spherical shape and as well as a long tail. It's supposed to be a long tail, but it's a Danny DeVito version of the long tail. So you're really seeing a shorter version of it. but really the tail is very long. And it also creates a dichotomy here. What I mean by a dichotomy is that the polar head, the blue one you see, it likes to be in water. And the tail, it doesn't like to be in water. So it is created with the design, with that idea, you wanted to create a dichotomy in a soap molecule. You take the soap, you dump it in water, the tail doesn't want to be in water, the head wants to be in water. What do? They self-assemble. Because there is a dichotomy there, they want to rearrange themselves to be very stable. They rearrange themselves in such a way, they form these beautiful shapes called micelles. What do? All the polar heads that likes to be in water surround themselves and keeping all these long chain hydrocarbons inside, creating a space where all the hydrocarbons can coexist, but at the same time they exist inside the water. Why am I bringing this here? I'm bringing this here because this is how we can see our courses we offer in general education. They exist in isolation. If they exist in isolation, there is a dichotomy because we don't make the connection with our students. What if we use the dichotomy and bring all these courses together in such a way, they form these beautiful structures. Not only are they very attractive, but they bring a wholeness to it, a Ubuntu to it if you want to call it that way. But beyond that, what it does, it creates a very functional property for us, that is, create a space where it can hold things that doesn't like to be in water. So when you are using soap every day morning, I'm hoping, as you use it, the soap creates a micelle, and the dirt that you have, the grease that you have, enters these, because the grease doesn't like to be in water, so it enters these beautiful shapes inside, stays inside as it gets washed away. These are very fragile connections, meaning there is not a strong attraction between each pieces, but they come together beautifully, creating a functional opportunity for you and me, and then they wash away. And so what I see, if there is a way for us to connect our undergraduate courses in such a way that they come together with a larger purpose, with a theme, and a theme that drives it for the students to see the meaning of what they do, it brings a lot more value to them. They would enjoy and understand and appreciate. In that context, the first idea I want to do is we want to have a connection. And then ask them to think about going beyond making a connection, but actually see the larger purpose. The third thing I would want them to do, we would like them to do, is to actually have the larger meaning behind why we do these things. So, we have been talking about how do we have an integrative approach to general education. Is there a way for us to connect these segments that are separate in isolation, don't really add a lot of value for students in their own mind? What if we make a connection where every year we pick a theme, and faculty who are interested in the theme, they come together, form those beautiful structures where students see the connection between what they learn in biology and what they learn in marketing. Would add a lot of value to them, but also they would see how this can be functional in a longer term, just like how the micelles are functional to us. So in that context, we've been working with a group of faculty, students, and staff across the campus. We've been working on creating a theme. The theme is called Beyond, and the topic we chose is called A Silk Road Journey. This is going back to the Silk Road that we all know that went from Xi'an in China all the way to Aleppo, some of you may know that, in Damascus, and going further beyond to Izmir in Turkey, where people travel, ideas travel, knowledge travel, genes travel, everything that traveled for 1,000 years, it's captured in the idea of a Silk Road. So we've been working on creating an exhibition, if you want to call it, a whole week of opportunity to learn about the Silk Road here in October. On the 7th of October, a Sunday, we wanted to have a large event where we're hoping to have around 2,000 students from those 23 faculty who have agreed to do this. They all collectively have agreed that they are going to focus a smaller portion of their class in the Silk Road. So we're hoping to target around 2,000 students walk by and see the connection from the different courses they've taken in the context of the Silk Road. And again, there is a larger missing connection that we don't really see. The larger missing connection, I would say larger, another way I can say it's a deeper meaning behind the connection that is missing, is consilience. The idea of consilience is that there is a unity in the knowledge that we are trying to gain. There is a purpose for us to understand the meaning behind everything we learn. The word consilience speaks about unity of knowledge. And that allows us to think about the larger context of why we do what we do. So going back to my talk, students are still missing the connection. Students need to see the connection, but they need to go beyond making the connection. The idea, the theme, beyond, is in that context of taking it from missing to making to taking it beyond, where to see the larger purpose of general education. In that context, for the last 2 days, I was working on creating the idea of Ubuntu in the larger context of what we're doing. And so the video you're going to see in a minute, in a couple of seconds, is going to talk about what is the deeper meaning behind why we do Gen Ed in the context of where we are at this point.